ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये अगजानन पद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानां एकदन्तमुपास्महे। एकदन्तम् उपास्महे। पाहि गजानन दीनावना पाहि गजानन दीनावना सिन्दूरवदना श्रितजनपालना श्रितजनपालना पाहि गजानन दीनावना अंबिकतनया अमराधीश्वर अंबिकतनया अमराधीश्वर अगणित गुणगण आनन्ददायक अगणित गुणगण आनन्ददायक पाहि गजानन दीनावना सिन्दूरवदना श्रितजनपालना पाहि गजानन दीनावना अंबिका श्रीरामचरणं 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 भजे। श्रीरामचरणं 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 भजे।
श्रीरामचरणं 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 भजे।
श्रीरामचरणं 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 भजे।
श्रीरामचरणं 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 भजे।
श्रीरामचरणं 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 भजे।
श्रीरामचरणं 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 भजे।
वैदेही रामं वैकुण्ठधामं वैदेही रामं वैकुण्ठधामं भूपालचूडामणि श्रीरामचरणं भजे।
श्रीरामचरणं भजे।
सत्य साई रामचरणं भजे।
सत्य साई रामचरणं भजे।
सत्य साई रामचरणं भजे।
साई रामचरणं भजे।
श्रीरामचरणं 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 भजे।
श्रीरामचरणं 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 भजे।
श्रीरामचरणं 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 भजे।
श्रीरामचरणं 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 भजे।
वैदेही रामं वैकुण्ठधामं
वैदेही रामं वैकुण्ठधामं
भूपालचूडामणि
भूपालचूडामणि
आत्माभिरामं प्रभु साई रामं
आत्माभिरामं प्रभु साई रामं
श्रीरामचरणं भजे।
श्रीरामचरणं
राम चरणं भजे
श्रीराम चरणं भजे
सत्य साई राम चरणं भजे
साई राम चरणं भजे
सत्य साई राम चरणं भजे
साई राम चरणं भजे
श्रीराम चरणं श्रीराम चरणं श्रीराम चरणं भजे राम राम भजो मन हरे हरे
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 साई 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 राम भजो मन हरे हरे
राम राम भजो मन हरे हरे
राम राम भजो मन हरे हरे
रघुपति राजा राम राम
रघुपति राजा राम राम
रघुपति राजा राम राम
रघुपति राजा राम राम
पतित पावन सीताराम
पतित पावन सीताराम
पतित पावन सीताराम
पतित पावन सीताराम
साई राम भजो मन हरे हरे
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 राम राम भजो मन हरे हरे
राम राम भजो मन हरे हरे
साई राम भजो मन हरे हरे
साई राम भजो मन हरे हरे
राम राम भजो मन हरे हरे
राम राम भजो मन हरे हरे
रघुपति राजा राम राम
रघुपति राजा राम राम
पतित पावन सीताराम
पतित पावन सीताराम
साई राम भजो मन हरे हरे
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 राम राम भजो मन हरे हरे भज मन सीताराम
भज मन सीताराम
भज मन सीताराम
भज मन सीताराम
भज मन श्री रघुराम साई राम
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 भज मन सीताराम
भज मन सीताराम
भज रे मानस भज साई राम
भज रे मा
साई राम।
भज रे मानस भज साई राम।
भजो भजो परती बाबा नाम।
भजो भजो परती बाबा नाम।
भजो 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 परती बाबा नाम।
भजो 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 परती बाबा नाम।
भज मन सीताराम।
भज मन सीताराम।
भज मन श्री रघुराम साई राम।
भज मन श्री रघुराम साई राम।
भज मन सीताराम।
भज मन सीताराम।
भज रे मानस भज साई राम।
भज रे मानस भज साई राम।
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 भज रे मानस भज साई राम।
भज रे मानस भज साई राम।
भजो भजो परती बाबा नाम।
भजो भजो परती बाबा नाम।
भजो 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 परती बाबा नाम।
भजो 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 परती बाबा नाम।
भज मन सीताराम।
जय जय रामा जय रघुरामा दशरथ नंदन राजा रामा।
जय जय रामा जय रघुरामा दशरथ नंदन राजा रामा।
जय जय रामा जय रघुरामा दशरथ नंदन राजा रामा।
जय जय रामा जय रघुरामा दशरथ नंदन राजा रामा।
अभय प्रदायक आनंददायक
प्रदायक आनंददायक।
अभय प्रदायक आनंददायक
प्रदायक आनंददायक।
त्रिभुवन मोहन सीतारामा। त्रिभुवन मोहन सीतारामा। दानव भंजन दीनोद्धारण। दानव भंजन दीनोद्धारण। प्रेमा सागरा साई रामा। प्रेमा सागरा साई रामा। जय जय रामा जय रघुरामा दशरथ नंदन राजा रामा।
जय जय रामा जय रघुरामा दशरथ नंदन राजा रामा।
अभय प्रदायक आनंददायक
प्रदायक आनंददायक।
त्रिभुवन मोहन सीतारामा।
मोहन सीतारामा।
दानव भंजन दीनोद्धारण।
भंजन दीनोद्धारण।
नंदन राजा रामा। रघुपते राघवा राजा रामा।
रघुपते राघवा राजा रामा।
रघुपते राघवा राजा रामा।
रघुपते राघवा राजा रामा।
ओ राजा रामा।
ओ राजा रामा।
ओ साई रामा।
ओ साई रामा।
रघुपते राघवा राजा रामा।
रघुपते राघवा राजा रामा।
दशरथ नंदन राजा रामा। कौसल्यात्मज सुंदर 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 रामा।
राम राम जय राजा रामा। श्यामल कोमल मेघ श्यामा।
राम राम जय राजा रामा। श्यामल कोमल मेघ श्यामा।
राम राम जय राजा रामा। श्यामल कोमल मेघ श्यामा।
राम राम जय राजा रामा। श्यामल कोमल मेघ श्यामा।
जय जय राम जय जय राम।
जय जय राम। जय जय राम।
जय जय राम जय जय राम।
जय जय राम। जय जय राम।
जय जय राम जय जय राम। जय जय राम राम राजा राम।
जय जय राम। जय जय राम। जय जय राम। राम राजा राम।
जय जय राम जय जय राम। जय जय राम राम राजा राम।
जय जय राम। जय जय राम। जय जय राम। राम राजा राम।
पतित पावन सीतापते रामा।
पतित पावन सीतापते रामा।
पतित पावन सीतापते रामा।
पतित पावन सीतापते रामा।
रघुपते राघवा राजा रामा।
रघुपते राघवा राजा रामा।
ओ राजा रामा।
ओ राजा रामा।
ओ साई रामा।
ओ साई रामा।
रघुपते राघवा राजा रामा।
रघुपते राघवा राजा रामा।
दशरथ नंदन राजा रामा। कौसल्यात्मज सुंदर रामा।
दशरथ नंदन राजा रामा। कौसल्यात्मज सुंदर रामा।
राम राम जय राजा रामा। श्यामल कोमल मेघ श्यामा।
राम राम जय राजा रामा। श्यामल कोमल मेघ श्यामा।
जय जय राम जय जय राम।
जय जय राम। जय जय राम।
जय जय राम जय जय राम। जय जय राम राम राजा राम।
जय जय राम। जय जय राम। जय जय राम। राम राजा राम।
पतित पावन सीतापते रामा।
पतित पावन सीतापते रामा।
पतित पावन सीतापते रामा।
पतित पावन सीतापते रामा।
रघुपते राघवा राजा रामा।
राम रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम।
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 श्री राम 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 साई राम राम राम।
राम राम साई राम राम राम।
श्री राम 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 साई राम राम राम।
राम राम साई राम राम राम।
राम रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम।
राम रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम।
हे पतित पावना राम, हे श्यामल कोमल राम।
पावना राम हे श्यामल कोमल राम।
हे पतित पावना राम, हे श्यामल कोमल राम।
पावना राम हे श्यामल कोमल राम।
हे वैदेही प्रिय राम साई राम राम जय राम।
देहि प्रिय राम साई राम राम जय राम।
हे वैदेही प्रिय राम साई राम राम जय राम।
देहि प्रिय राम साई राम राम जय राम।
श्री राम 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 साई राम राम राम।
राम राम साई राम राम राम।
श्री राम 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 साई राम राम राम।
राम राम साई राम राम राम।
राम रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम।
राम रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम।
श्री राम 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 साई राम राम राम।
राम राम साई राम राम राम।
राम रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम।
रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम।
हे पतित पावना राम, हे श्यामल कोमल राम।
पावना राम हे श्यामल कोमल राम।
हे वैदेही प्रिय राम साई राम राम जय राम।
देहि प्रिय राम साई राम राम जय राम।
श्री राम 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 साई राम राम राम।
राम राम साई राम राम राम।
श्री राम 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 साई राम राम राम।
राम राम साई राम राम राम।
राम रघुवर राम सीता राम राम राम। राम 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 नाम तारकम्।
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 राम कृष्ण वासुदेव भक्ति मुक्तिदायकम्।
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 राम 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 नाम तारकम्।
राम 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 नाम तारकम्।
जानकी मनोहरं सकललोकनायकम्।
जानकी मनोहरं सकललोकनायकम्।
जानकी मनोहरं सकललोकनायकम्।
जानकी मनोहरं सकललोकनायकम्।
शङ्करादिसेव्यमान दिव्यनाम कीर्तनम्।
शङ्करादिसेव्यमान दिव्यनाम कीर्तनम्।
शङ्करादिसेव्यमान दिव्यनाम कीर्तनम्।
शङ्करादिसेव्यमान दिव्यनाम कीर्तनम्।
राम 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 नाम तारकम्।
राम 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 राम
भक्तिमुक्तिदायकं
रामकृष्ण वासुदेव भक्तिमुक्तिदायकम्
राम 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 नाम तारकं
राम 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 नाम तारकम्
जानकी मनोहरं सकललोकनायकं
जानकी मनोहरं सकललोकनायकम्
शङ्करादिसेव्यमान दिव्यनाम कीर्तनं
शङ्करादिसेव्यमान दिव्यनाम कीर्तनम्
शङ्करादिसेव्यमान दिव्यनाम कीर्तनं
शङ्करादिसेव्यमान दिव्यनाम कीर्तनम् राम 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 नाम तारकम्
पिबरे रामरसं रसने पिबरे रामरसं 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 जनन मरण भय शोक विदूरं जनन मरण भय शोक विदूरं जनन मरण भय शोक विदूरं शोक विदूरं सकल शास्त्र निगमागम सारं सकल शास्त्र निगमागम सारं सकल शास्त्र निगमागम सारं सकल शास्त्र निगमागम सारं पिबरे रामरसं रसने पिबरे रामरसं पिबरे पिबरे रामरसं
I went to Shirdi. The moment I landed, it was I think 3:30 or something in the morning, I reached there. A small boy comes and he takes complete control. I had not to do anything at all after I reached Shirdi. He comes, he says, there is a room arranged for you. He takes me to one room. Then he gets a puja thali organized. Then he says, you come with me. Those days, directly you could go to the Samadhi Mandir. He takes me there. He takes me to all the places. That next day in the afternoon, till I left Shirdi, he was my guardian, my everything. A small boy. And at the end of it, I had a fantastic time in Shirdi and had blissful darshan. Came back to Mumbai. And the heart was craving for Swami. I wanted to see him. I wanted to go to Dharmakshetra to know what is happening. And there was no news at all. People said, huge crowds. There is barricade put everywhere. My aunt said, I will try my best to get you in, but it is very difficult. And things went on like this for 2 days. No darshan of Swami, only hearing about him from people reading about it in the newspaper, I chose to remain contented in my aunt's place. Third day, I got to know that Swami was returning back to Bangalore. I think it was the 24th of Jan 92, if I'm not mistaken, when he was planning to come back, or the 30th, something like that. 24th is when we traveled, and I think 30th he was returning, or something like that. When I got to know that he's returning back, my immediate thought was, let me try and see if I can get a seat next to him again on the way back. At least let me try to use something to get a seat again on the same row, somewhere close to him. So Mumbai, of course, I didn't know the people in the airlines. I went there, and they had booked seats in different computers. Nobody was willing to tell me which particular flight Bhagwan was taking back to Bangalore for security reasons. And the seats were also booked in different names. It was not Joga Rao, it was Rao Joga. It was not Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, it was Baba Sri Satya Sai. It was something else for someone else. So when I was giving them a name, they said this name is not figuring in the system at all. So I got frustrated, and suddenly one person says, he is leaving tomorrow morning by so-and-so flight. And I told him I must have a seat on that flight. With Swami's grace, I got a seat on the flight, return journey also. The next morning, I reached the airport in Mumbai, and due to some reasons on the way, I got delayed. By the time I have reached the airport, the check-in had already started. So I couldn't get an opportunity to get the seat of my choice. So I was standing in the queue. 7A was Swami again, 7B, 7C, 7D, 7E, 7F, 7G, all those seats were booked for him, for the whole troop. So the man in front of me got 7E. And I was poring over his shoulder to see what is on his boarding card. And I saw 7E. And the next was my turn. That man gave me 11. So I looked at it and I said, but I want something in that row 7. And this previous passenger was hearing. He had a horrific flight from Bangalore to Mumbai because he was on the same row while going. He's a non-devotee. Because of the crowd and the rush that was going to Swami, he didn't want to be on the same row where Swami was. So he said, is Sai Baba traveling again on this flight? The person at the counter said, yes. Then I don't want anything in row number 7. You give me something in the back. So I again got 7E, and I was seated, and Swami came. It was, I think, 6:45 in the morning when we departed from Mumbai. Swami entered the flight. He saw me. He called, and he said, why did you go to the mandir first? You should have gone to Dwarkamai. I said, my God, that means he was actually keeping track and following every single movement in Shirdi. I told you that you should have gone to Dwarkamai. I said, Swami, you never told. I told you. I said, Swami, you only asked me to go to Shirdi. This is my first visit to Shirdi. How will I know where to go? Then I realized the boy who was there kept telling me again and again, first let's go to Dwarkamai, first let's go to Dwarkamai. And I was pushing him and telling him, no, first the mandir, because when you come to a holy place, you must first go to the mandir. So I dragged this boy and took him to the Samadhi mandir. And this chap was adamant, no, Dwarkamai, Dwarkamai. Swami said, how many times I told, you didn't listen. And then I realized that the Lord had chosen one more occasion to travel a distance, to actually be there and to show us the right path. He said, all arrangements I have made. He lived up to his word. He was there to receive at the bus stand, take me through everything, get the room booked, get the darshan organized, everything he did. We, in our ignorance, didn't follow the directions of the Lord. Unless we submit ourselves and surrender ourselves completely to the will of the Lord, it becomes very difficult for the Lord also to sometimes work through our obstinacy. We must understand that every act, every word that has come from him is bound to happen. I said, sorry, Swami, I'm very sorry. And then he said, here, Dharmakshetra Prasadam. So he gave laddu, then he gave some fruit, then he gave something. You know, with Swami it is not one or two, it will keep coming. Once he starts, it will keep on. And he said, Tinu. It was 6:45 in the morning, and laddu was there, something else was there, a fruit was there. Probably he knew this guy will have a fantastic appetite. So I started eating everything, finished. And the journey back ended to Bangalore. There was nothing really unique or significant which happened during the journey between Swami and me at a physical level. But one thing that happened during this trip was, I suddenly felt that he was time and again trying to choose occasions, trying to create a feeling clearly that you are mine. Somewhere I started feeling this love of his was engulfing me so intensely, steadily, that I started feeling a sense of belonging to him. I felt this body, this being, this life is only for him and for nothing else, and for no one else. This feeling was very steadily building up, and this trip was one other reminder that God will go to any extent to do anything for you. The Shirdi trip ended. We came back, lot of ego. I came back to our Samiti. You know, I went to Bombay with Swami. You know, I traveled with Swami. I meet anybody there. Yeah. Recently Swami went to Bombay and he took me with him. Shirdi, he actually asked me to go to Shirdi. You don't know. My first trip to Shirdi, actually Swami himself sent me. Ego. Wherever I go, it was built up. It was coming all over. Swami decided to cut this. The next 2 years, he just cut off. He was reforming from within. There was no physical interaction at all. He would ignore, he would avoid completely. He was in a divine way present. At physical level, he made clear. In fact, there were occasions where I remember, if I am seated at a particular place, he will ignore that entire line. He used to ignore the whole bunch of people near me. And so if people didn't want to have darshan, they could have chosen to sit next to me. It was that bad. It went on, and I used to cry. I used to wonder, what mistake have I done to be treated like this? And he would, the moment he spots me, he will turn the face. But little did I realize that all this was again done out of his infinite love. See, the mercy in the Lord is so great. Every act that he did and does and will continue to do will only be for our upliftment. I don't think a physical level ignorance, physically ignoring a devotee means that he is shrugging off a devotee or keeping him aside. I don't think that is the way to interpret it at all. Everything that he did was elevating us spiritually all the while. So the next 1.5, 2 years went in this intense craving for him. There was a room at home which I had made as my room with my Lord. And I had put Swami's pictures all over in that room. And there was a table, which was my study table. And I had my cot in the same room. And I used to spend all my time either doing my articleship or studying there or doing my prayer. Everything was in that room. And the way he would show his presence, Vibhuti would get covered in all the pictures. And so appropriately, on every examination day, there used to be a huge outburst of Vibhuti from the photos. And it was like ready prasadam available, so you go take Vibhuti and then go to write the exam. And I know, looking back, the only reason I can assure you this, for having done whatever little I did in my chartered accountancy and other professional exams, was only due to the grace through that Vibhuti. And Swami, in fact, mentioned this in 2007. One day he was on a trip. Whomever he was introducing me to, he said, Vinay Kumar, chartered accountant. He called somebody into the interview room. He said, Valli Avaru Telsa, chartered accountant. So I said, this is becoming too much. So I said, Swami, I am nothing. You know what I am. Ellaratra ನೀವು ಹೋಗಿ, you are saying chartered accountant, what is this? ಆವತ್ತೇ ವಿಭೂತಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟೆ. ಆವತ್ತೇ ಪ್ರಸಾದಂ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಅದು ತಗೊಂಡಿದ್ದಕ್ಕೆ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್ ಪಾಸ್ ಮಾಡಿದೆ. I said, when your prasadam was the reason for my passing, how can you go on introducing me like this? In fact, that room became so special. In 2010, December, I remember Swami had asked us to get an album made of the house. And he called one of our senior trustees in Karnataka Trust, Mr. Gangadhar Shetty Garu. He asked him to hold the album and he asked me to turn the leaves, the pages. He was seeing every room of the house. And when it came to this particular room, Swami says, "Ee room gottalla, ee room alle nanu vibhuti ella kottiddu. Ee room interview room," he said. So I said, "Swami, what is this?" He said, "All the furniture you remove from that room. That room should become the interview room. Whenever I come, I'll grant interview in that room." So everything was connected. Everything had a purpose. Everything doesn't happen just due to coincidence. It is a beautiful, deliberate, divine design. It has all got a purpose behind it. These incidents where he, after my mother passed away, steadily to start doing this and drawing me closer and closer and closer and closer and giving this reassurance time and again, I am there, reminding me through action, through words, gave me that feeling that I am his and he is mine. There is no doubt about this. That got very firmly entrenched with it. The years that followed after that had a few ups, a few downs. There are so many things that happened. For lack of time, I probably will not be able to go through all that, but I will share with you all a few beautiful incidents of his immense love, that pure, pristine love of the Lord, which only he could have given and nobody else could have given. I want to share a few of those incidents. There was one particular incident. Swami had granted us an interview on one afternoon. And towards the end of the interview, ivaga hogi already vibhuti. These are typical. Swami at the end of the interview would signal you to get the vibhuti tray, and then once he gives you the vibhuti packets, you are supposed to take namaskar and leave the room. Vibhuti kodu. So I held the tray, he gave vibhuti, and we got up and we said, "Swami, we are leaving to Bangalore now." Hogbittu. We got up, came out, went to the room. Swami went into the Bhajan Mandir. He was seated on the throne for the Bhajans, evening Bhajans. And we, instead of sitting there, have gone back to the room. We have started unpacking everything, dressed into my colored clothes, and getting ready to start for Bangalore. And suddenly a boy comes to the room and knocks and says, "Sir, Swami is calling you back." And I said, "For what? Just now we took his permission. Have I done any mistake?" And I was shivering. I said, "Has anything gone wrong unknowingly? Have I done something wrong? I don't know." So I just, in those colored clothes, I just rushed back to the mandir. And the last bhajan, I think, was going on. It was around 5:30, 5:35 in the evening. Aarti was about to be offered. Swami was on the throne. The registrar, our earlier registrar, he said, "Where did you go?" Swami was asking, "Come sit." So they made me sit. That was probably one of the few occasions when you didn't want to be under the direct sight of the Lord. Because I was full of fear. I didn't know what mistake I have done. And they were pushing me closer and closer and closer to the bhajan door. And I was right there and he was on the chair and he could see me clearly, but he was immersed in the bhajans. Totally immersed, full of that bliss. And I was hoping that when he opens his eyes, he's in a good mood. And when he opens his eyes, I don't become ash or something like that. And the bhajan ended. Aarti, and Swami slowly opened his eyes. He looked and he gave a smile. And then I knew, there is nothing wrong that has happened. Nothing so drastically wrong that must have happened. If he has given that smile, everything must be fine. But I still didn't understand, why did he call us back from that room when just 1 hour ago we were with him for almost 40 minutes. Swami accepts Aarti, gets off the throne, comes till the Bhajan Mandir door, calls me and says, "Pada namaskara tago." So I take namaskar. He says, "Namaskara tagoldene hogta ideyalla, adikke karidu namaskara kodakke karde. You are leaving Puttaparthi without taking my namaskar. I called you back so that I can give you namaskar and send you." This much love, I don't think you can get from anybody. It It is impossible. Why should the Lord do it? Just imagine, we are, at least I know what I am. For a measly creature like that, to call him all the way back, to tell him I have called you to give you namaskar, this only Swami could do. I don't think anybody, no other avatar can do this. Only he could do this.
ओम जय जगदीश हरे स्वामी सत्य साई हरे भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्त जना संरक्षक पति महेश्वरा ओम जय जगदीश हरे शशिवदना श्रीकरा सर्वा प्राणपते स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपते आश्रित कल्पलतिका आश्रित कल्पलतिका आपदान्धवा ॐ जय जगदीश हरे मातपिता गुरुदैवमु मरियन्तयु नीवे स्वामी मरियन्तयु नीवे नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथ नागेन्द्रशयन ॐ जय जगदीश हरे ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी हो साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगल आरती अंधुको मंगल आरती अंधुको मंगल गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरे नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा शांति 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 समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो
सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की